So as we head into the next half century, what do you think it holds for the financial planning profession?
Yeah, so I just talked about, becoming a profession, and we're still very young as a profession compared to medicine, law, accounting and teaching and others. So we should have some patience in this regard, but we should look ahead to the next 50 years with some sort of plan, strategy, and vision around how can we join those other professions, because I believe firmly that everyone needs and can benefit from true expert objective financial planning services, just like they can medical services, and we deserve to be recognized as such. So we need to have a vision for moving in that direction over the next 50 years. I know that FPA exists for its members as a 501c3. We also keep one eye on the consumer and how can we hold ourselves to the highest standard possible so that we're worthy of being held up as a recognized profession in the eyes of consumers and really being held accountable to them.
So you were once named the Fiduciary of the Year by the Committee for Fiduciary Standard. Why would you say being a fiduciary is important?
I love that question. And just before I begin it, a shout out to the Committee for the Fiduciary Standard. What a great bunch of true high integrity professionals. And we get caught up a lot of times in this whole advocacy and fiduciary landscape with legal terminology and language. The word fiduciary is pretty much a legal word, and consumers don't understand that a lot of times. And years ago, the committee came up with this fiduciary oath that's written in very plain language on one side of one piece of paper that the professional can sign for their client, that really lays out a set of commitments in plain English about how they're going to handle themselves in their professional dealings with their clients. So I love that. I love the committee. More directly to your question, I go back to my father died some years ago, and I discovered after his passing that I had been named co-trustee of a trust for my mother, co-trustee with a brother of mine. And so I'm a fiduciary. I'm a fiduciary to the beneficiaries of that trust, to my mother during her lifetime and to my siblings after my mother passes. And so I'm not a practitioner of financial planning, but I do know what it is firsthand to be a fiduciary. And that means to have a legal obligation to put others' interests ahead of my own. And it's about that simple. And it's a tremendously important thing, I think, a building block in our becoming a profession, to hold ourselves to that standard where we say, your interests come first, not mine, yours come first. And that's the standard I'm going to hold myself to as a professional, and a standard I'm willing to be held accountable to by whatever laws or regulations happen to develop around that. So it's tremendously important to act as fiduciaries, to engender the trust of our customers and the larger public and policymakers. And I will also say another hats off here to the CFP board for taking the courageous step it did about a year ago to apply a fiduciary standard to financial planning activities. I think that's another great step forward in the development of a profession.
So you devote your time to your community, especially through programs like Habitat for Humanity and Special Olympics. Why is it important for you to give back this way?
I'm a baseball nut, and I'll use a baseball phrase that I think a lot of people have heard, and that is, if you were born on second base, don't go thinking you hit a double. I feel like I was born on second base, but I always try to remind myself I didn't hit a double. I think someone put me there. Maybe I was a pinch runner inserted there or something. I don't know what. I'll drop the baseball analogy, but a lot of people aren't born on second base. A lot of people are born, in the dugout, or maybe not even on the team. My parents instilled in me throughout my upbringing that we owe it to ourselves, to our society, to make sure others have a chance to participate. And I ultimately believe if everybody has a chance to be on that playing field, then it's up to them to, through their own efforts, to succeed. But everyone needs the opportunity. And not everyone has that in our society, as we all know. I've been involved in a lot of charitable activities, whether it be through my kids' school or church or their extracurricular activities. You pointed out Special Olympics and Habitat for Humanity, and there's a whole bunch of others, all in my mind to benefit people who weren't born on second base. I just would like to do whatever small part I can to make sure they at least have access to the playing field, whether it be to help put a roof over their head, or to give competitive opportunities to those who might not otherwise have them, so that they at least can have that opportunity to succeed, whatever their definition of success might be. So that's always been really important to me.
So who has had the most impact on your career?
Oh boy, thank you for asking that. There have been so many, and I go back again to my parents. I think it starts with them because they gave me such great support all the way through my school years, and really by example demonstrated to me the values that they held dear, including integrity and work ethic, and treating others with respect equally. And I've tried to carry those, tried to role model those in my own life. So I start with them. More specifically, coming to within our association, I'm gonna shout out the name of Ed Jertson. Ed's a former volunteer leader. I'm sure continues in various roles to be a volunteer leader, but former chair of the board. He was the one who first tapped me on the shoulder and said, "Hey, have you ever thought about taking a leadership role, a volunteer leadership role with FPA?" And talked me through that, and started my journey really and into FPA leadership. So he's another one. I look at my wife, who quite a few years ago gave up her career for the, in some ways, more lucrative, intangibly lucrative, of raising our 3 children at home. And judging by how they turned out, I think her career was a success. So there are many, many people who have had great influence on my career. I try to take just a little bit from different people that I interact with. Hey, I like that about that person, or I like what that person did in that situation, and just try to adapt those things for my own as I continue my own growth journey.
So in the spirit of the theme for the month of this publication, it's going to be college funding. What did you learn as a parent putting your kids through school, through college? Or
well, in the spirit of college funding, I would say I love 529 plans. They are they are what we use to fund our kids' college educations, in addition to their own efforts. And so I love those. But I think more broadly, your kids reach an age, and it's difficult to pinpoint exactly when that is, when it's time to kind of back off a little bit with, you will do this and you will not do this, and kind of judge what kind of person is this? What do they seem to really be most interested in and in doing with their lives? And then just support them and help them and kind of provide them a little guidance here on that. And I think as they step off to college is especially the time to do that. I always told them that college is the bridge from childhood to adulthood, where you are in transition for those years. You have more independence generally if you go away to school and you're living there, but you also have a safety net. If something goes wrong, if you make a mistake, you've still got a safety net there, as opposed to when you're a full-fledged adult, maybe there's not so much of a safety net. So I just tried to guide them in those ways, help them make decisions where I could, and ultimately hold my breath and let them fly.
So we've heard your words of wisdom called Skip Schweissisms, right? So what's your favorite Skip Schweissism that you'd like to share with our readers?
I've never heard that term, Skip Schweissism, and I can't take any credit, because I try to learn, as I said earlier, from everyone I run into. I also am a huge book reader, and I like to grab quotes from anywhere I find them, from a friend, a family member, a world leader, or an athlete, whoever. And I actually collect these in a kind of a book that I have now. So any Skip Schweissisms actually came from other people, but I just try to apply them in life where I can, maybe share them if I think it might help or amuse someone else. So I talked about books. I'm going to share 2. One was from Harry Truman, and he said, "Not every reader is a leader, but every leader is a reader." So I really like that one. Meaning you can read a lot, doesn't make you a leader, doesn't mean you have to be a leader, but to be a leader, you probably need to read a lot. And then I'll conclude this one with, I consider myself a budding student of the Stoic philosophy. And one of the quotes in that realm that I like, and I could never find the original source to it, but it says, "Happiness is a decision, not a reaction."